Hi, this is Cousin Russ. Um, I'm going to demonstrate how I handle a hint from the Ancestry Find a Grave index record. Uh, I'm going to walk through the whole process, my whole process, because I think but I just want to share how I handle that index because it is helpful for a number of reasons, and I'll probably explain that as I go. Okay, so I'm going to go over Family Tree Maker, and I have a hint for Mary with 5 underscores. On the right-hand side, I have her name, Mary, with 5 underscores because I don't know her. Um, I don't know her birth surname. I know when she was born. I know when she died. I know where she is buried as far as the town is concerned. So I have a hint here, and and it's one ancestor hint. I do not have hints turned on for ancestry member tree hints. I have them turned off. I don't need them on a regular basis. So I'm going to click on that shaky leaf and see what I have. And sure enough, I only have one record for her, one hint for her, because I don't have too much information, but it is for the Find a Grave website. And I'm going to click on that, the link. And that is her husband. You can see her husband's name right here. And she has a child, Mary, and she has a child, Mary. So I can visually see from here with a mini nav bar at the top. And also down the left-hand side is information from my tree, from the file on my computer. And this is what Ancestry has for her and what they're suggesting that I bring in for her. One of the things that I do is I highlight and copy that information because I'm going to bring that uh, into Family Tree Maker, and I'll show you where I do that because I'm going to capture that, and I do this for all records. It gives me a quick glance of the information that's about that record in the sources workspace. I am convinced that this is the correct person based on the information in my file and the information from the record and the relationships that are up here, the relationships that are here. I already know that she is buried in this town, but this record is giving me the cemetery. So I want to explain that. So I'm going to do a merge, and it's giving me the chance to compare the information in my tree, in my file, and the information is coming from the record. I'm going to keep this because that's what the record says. The record says that's what her name is. I'm going to keep it as an alternate fact. Her birth date, I have a more complete than the Find a Grave website has, or the index has, but I am not going to throw it away because the record says that that's her birth year. They only has in a birth year. I want to capture what the record has. Yes, this is an index, but that index came from someplace. And we know that in this case, it came from the Find a Grave website. Her death date, I have her full death date, and the record has the full death date. So I can disregard this entry, but I'm going to keep the citation. I want the citation for this record to come in. Now I have her burial location, and the record shows the same burial information, but what is not in the web merge, and I don't have a problem with this, what's not in the web merge is the field that I really want, and that's a cemetery. So I'm going to explain how I handle this, but I'm going to bring this as an alternate fact. As I pointed out before, this collection uses the term United States of America and not the country name. So it'll be very obvious when I look at the merged record which one I have to deal with, and that's the one that has the spelled out. On the left-hand side, this is the individual. That's what I just am comparing and made my selections. Her spouse name is there, and her child name is there, as I showed you a few minutes ago. But now I'm going to click next, because now I'm going to merge the data from Ancestry on the record into my file. And when I selected merge, it is offering me this choice, and this will become more important when I do the child. Like before, I now get to compare. The names are exactly the same. I'm going to discard this one, but there will be a citation put on this record. I have the full birth date. I can do the same thing. So the only thing that's going to happen here is this citation will be put on this birth date. Death date. We have the same death date, except this time it says it's off suggesting that I have alternate. That's because USA, United States, is spelled out, and over here it is not. So I can discard that record, but again, I want that citation over here. I have the same problem where I have the cemetery name here for him. I didn't have it for her, but I do for him. So I'm going to bring this in as an alternate fact, because this record does not tell me what cemetery he is buried in. It's coming in from Ancestry. So it's you need to pay attention to the data that is brought in with this record. You don't see that data. The only thing you have here is his name, but other data is being brought in with this web merge, with this record collection. That's one of the reasons why I'm spending a little bit of time doing this. It seems like a really straightforward merge, but you got to pay attention to what's going on and the data that's coming in, because you can't see this data on this record. But there's links here which tells me that the web merge is pulling data from those links. So I have made my choices for him, and hopefully I explained why I made those choices. So I'm going to do the same thing for her. A child, I'm going to merge that data, 1817. In this specific case, there are two Mary Denton children. One died earlier, but that's not the record that's coming in from Ancestry is what I have in my data. So I'm going to merge it, and I have the same choices. I have the same name. I have the same birth date, so I can discard. This time, I don't have where Mary the child is buried. I just know the town, and this is the same town. So I can discard this because it's the same information, but I want the citation from this record that I'm merging now linked to this fact. So I can click next, and there's the summary. There's no images. All it is an index, so I'm going to click merge now. So the data is now merged. I can click close to continue. Now, the very next thing that I am going to do is fix the citation. So I'm going to the sources workspace, and I know that record came into the Find a Grave citation where it normally ends up doing the web merge. remember on my clipboard, I have that information. I have the source information. It's on my clipboard. So I'm going to put that in the notes for the citation. I just pasted the notes there. I do this on all the records. I bring this data that comes in from Ancestry and put it in the notes for that record. Now I've got some cleanup to do. So I'm going to, first of all, I consider citation notes is data for me. The citation details become the citation or the full reference note. Again, I am not in a source template. I'm in the free-form version, the default. Now I got to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to put an enter space colon space accessed 27 December 2017. Now I spell out December. I spell out the date. Some people don't. That's okay. It doesn't matter. I spell it out because I don't know who's going to be reading this later on. The next thing I want to do is highlight the name because that came in from Ancestry. So I have no doubt in my mind who this web merge was done for. Now I want some information in the citation detail. Because this is an index, I type in entry for space Control V. I copied the name that was brought in from the record. Now, because I'm following a hint and somebody wants to retrace my steps, I need to give some information in the citation detail to help do a manual search because this is searchable on Ancestry, but I just need one more piece of information, and I'm going to type in death date colon space 1 NOV 1817, and let me show you where I got that from. So I'm looking at the record. So the only thing that I need to capture is one of these items, and I have chosen to be consistent to use the death date. So somebody can come behind me and do a search on the Find a Grave index at Ancestry, put in this name and the death date in the search fields, and that will get find the record that I am looking at, the index that I'm looking at. It's not a record, it's an index. Now, I already have a formatted source template format for this record collection, Ancestry compiler. I have just moved that free-form citation into a formatted evidence explained equivalent of a reference note, which is down here, but it's not right yet. The next thing I do is double click on this and it brings up the reference note. What I'm going to do is I want to put this access date information into the reference note. So I have the date in the clipboard for my computer, and I hit Control V, and I have the URL for Ancestry and the access 27 December 2017. So my reference note is now complete. Now I can work on this data that I brought in. Remember that I did not know what Mary's name was. So I want to start now recording the data, updating, making sure that things came in as I wanted. So I'm going to double click on her name. I go to her record. The first thing that I'm going to do here is create my research note. 27. I used the bulleted reference research log entry. So each time I do something, I have a research log, and it's a find grave index, not the website, but the index for it. And I did the record for Mary 5 underscores. Now I'm going to highlight that and put it on my clipboard because I'm going to use that for her husband and Mary the child. Now we've got some cleanup to do here. Her name is here twice. I already had her in my database. And this is the citation that I just created. I'm going to use the copy source citation option because I want that on my clipboard. Remember, Family Tree Maker has two clipboards, one for this text down here and one for a citation text. Now, I'm going to select the other instance of her name, and I'm going to click the down arrow and paste the citation. So now there's 3 citations, and I can delete that name fact because I moved the citation from that name up to the other name. Now, one other thing that happened here that was not brought in, but I want to go back and look at that index again. Look at what is here. Find a Grave does, in fact, help with birth surnames for women. The maiden name, it's in italics if you were looking at the Find a Grave website, but it is on this record. Now, if I hadn't paid attention to this record, I would not have known to pick up her birth surname. Now, other records, I have her as Mary with 5 underscores, but I can now add a new name because I know, according to that record, Mary, Lefferts. So I now know from that record, that index, what her birth surname is. I'm going to put a citation to that because that's where I got it from. I got it from this record right here. And I'm going to right click and make that her preferred name because that is her birth name. I did not know it on this record, and I've had 3 records that called her Mary and her married name. So I took care of her name. I now have her birth surname, and now I've got to start cleaning up the dates. Any birth, marriage, and death dates, I always use the word about if all I see is the year. I have it, and that's what was brought in from that record, but I already have an about in that year. This came in as an alternate date when I did to compare my file against the record because this is the preferred date, more complete. So yes, I brought it in as an alternate date because I didn't see that I already had an alternate date. I only see the preferred. So since I already have on my clipboard this citation, I'm going to select that and paste that citation on the about year. And I also can get rid of that year, birth year alone. This is the record that I had before. This is the record I have now. It has United States of America. But what I have from the record that I brought in, that she was buried in Old Burying Hill Cemetery. I learned how to spell, comma, space. On the right end of the place field is the resolve, the unrecognized place name. I could just place it with that, but I don't want to because I want the cemetery name in the place field. So I opened up the resolve and I move the cemetery to the upper box. These fields are broken up with a comma. So when I entered the data over here on the right, it was cemetery, comma, space. So when I use this up arrow, it put the cemetery name at the top, and it's offering me Huntington, Suffolk County, New York, United States of America is going to accept, and I use the word county all of the time, whether it's offered or not. I enter the word county for people to see that later. The search engine found Huntington, Suffolk County, New York, USA. So I just replaced it. And I'm just going to replace this one entry. So now my place name is resolved. So I have, in fact, resolved her. The next item, let me bring here, next screen here is her spouse and then her daughter, Mary. So I'm going to go to her spouse. I brought the record in for him. I merged it. So I'm going to enter my research log at the bottom. I just pasted what I had. The name came in, and what's obvious to me, you see, I already have his burial location. Oh, that just reminded me. I got to go back to Mary because I now have a more complete information. I just had the town where she was buried, and a right click and make the cemetery the preferred burial location. Right clicked and made it preferred. I already had him buried in the town, and I have his cemetery, but it came in again. This was done during the web merge. All I saw was the burial. All the option I have was the preferred fact. This was alternate. It was already an alternate, but I don't see the alternate. So this is wrong anyhow because it's got the country names filled out. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to paste that citation right there. Now I can delete this because I just removed that citation. So he is now done. Now, what I'm going to do is that's all the children. Remember that I had Mary listed twice? Well, in fact, she is Mary. She is listed twice because he was married twice. The second, the Mary that I just brought in was from his first marriage, which I didn't know her first married name, but I do now. So this is the record that I just brought in for Mary. I'm going to enter the research log and review the data. And I don't have any changes to do in this one because this is what, oh, yes, I do have a change because I have her cemetery, so I can make that preferred. So I know where she's buried. I know that she was buried in that town, but that's the cemetery, and the cemetery is what I want recorded. So I have taken this one record, 3 people. The good news is I found out what her birth surname was, and she died about the same year that Mary the child died. So that's a web merge from an Ancestry hint from Ancestry using the web merge feature, and I walk through all the steps that I follow to bring in that hint, working from that hint. Again, the web merge process allows me to compare the data that I have with the record that's being suggested with a hint to come in, and I evaluated it, and I brought in the data I wanted, and then I had some cleanup to do, and hopefully I was a little bit clearer on how I do that. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it on the blog post or in the Google Plus community. If you want to join the Google Plus community, please have your profile current and say something about what we have in common, that is family research. And that's why you want to join my Google Plus community. The only thing I look at is your profile. So if you want to join and ask questions there, you're welcome to do that, but I'm going to look at your profile. Thank you very much and have a great day.